Um, my name is Margaret Ann Windsor. I was kidnapped from Buckingham Palace in 41, and I was born in 39. I was brought to Moulton, Alabama, and given the name of a twin, um, Peggy Ann Dempsey, and I married a Childers. Peggy Ann Dempsey was twin to Carl Preston Dempsey. They were born out of wedlock to Lina Mae Dempsey, Moulton, Alabama. It was like a pigsty and something out of Mad magazine. Uh, so I grew up in horrible conditions, and I was listening to, I guess it was CNN, I'm pretty sure today, that made the comment that nobody liked to hear someone's sad story when they were having problems. Forgive me if I didn't get that quite right, because all of you have not gotten my name right yet, and I'm 75 years old and in really bad health. So I want to, first of all, say that CNN and the rest of the networks have gone along with it, have really jumped on Mayor Ford from Toronto. You've called it every name in the book, the night, Jimmy Kimmel, all of it, have had a field day with it. Not one of you have mentioned as the upcoming 50th year of Kennedy's shooting. Not one of you have turned the cameras on yourself, even though you knew it before I did, about my kidnapping and the horrific crimes and torture that this country has willingly participated in against me personally here. So I've put all this on prior tapes. As it stands now, you've got Caroline Kennedy as ambassador to Japan. Here's Obama and her. Now, Joe Kennedy, ambassador to Great Britain, 36 to 46, that's John's father, and Caroline's grandfather was the one that helped plan my kidnapping and take down my father, which King Edward VIII was a very, very decent man. And how dare these bunch of thugs spread the lies. My father was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe, George O'Keeffe's, the artist's sister, baby sister. She's Catholic, Irish, American, and back then they considered her a commoner, though over the years with the illegal it's become quite all right to be a commoner, a divorcee, Catholic, as is Charles's wife. So that being said, I wanted to, and I did want to mention this, because, well, Larry Flynn, I wrote a book on mind control and what could be done with it, programming people to shoot, to commit any crime. Any illness can be made or it can be cured. It's the Tesla files that were stolen back in early 30s, and perhaps it goes back further. But I was flown out to Flint's during a campaign when one of the doctors, Larry McDonald, he was a U.S. congressman, and he was part of the doctor that I wrote about in the medical malpractice book. And then April the 1st of 80, I was filled full of antifreeze. I wonder what that does to your brain. And I've put the other stuff they've done to me on the other tapes, so it's been an ongoing hell for me. So I guess the United States considers that okay. They're saying how terrible it was that John Kennedy, who was continuing his father's takedown of the British Empire, and the joke of taking out the real monarch, me. So it's all been a April Fool joke to everybody, but it's been ongoing, and that's okay to the Americans. So they put their own monarch in, and that's Elizabeth and George the Sixth, and that's who they're illegal. But a 99-year seal was put on a pack of lies, and my birth and my father. It was all lies. So all of it's illegal, but hey, the cameras are turned on this. And I wanted to, in here, they don't show what was done to my sons, Mark and Scott, who are the legal heirs after me. So I don't know if I showed this, and I'll show this. Now, what I showed you was my father, the real King Edward VIII, then the imposter that married American divorcee Wallace Simpson, a spy, and then I showed you Elizabeth and her father, George, the illegal George the Sixth, and Roosevelt, 1939, the year I was born, planning my kidnapping in 41. Uh, Here's where I want to go to the last years when I was brought here. And I'm going to turn the camera around the other way because I think that the volume's better and you can hear me. I made some tapes and, well, videos, excuse me, tapes, videos. And someone came in and deleted 3 of them. I'm going to try to put them back up. I'm not even sure these are going out. Anyway, when I came here in October of '86 to Roanoke, Virginia, I came here and I got off the bus at 3 o'clock in the morning and I had nothing, money, no clothes, no jacket. I was freezing, nowhere to go in a strange town. A lady I had met on the bus that was British coming up, and I had to get off in Abington and try to get a ticket on in. She was British, and she told me my father was still alive, the real King Edward VIII. The double was supposed to have died in '74, I believe. Uh, so I got off at Abington, and then I came on up. It was 3 o'clock in the morning when I got to Roanoke, and the only person in the bus station was the British lady. And it was kind of dark in there, and it was just the cashier or that was there. So I came through the door, and she said, "We'll come back and get you here." I hope so, before I die, that I get to see the truth told about what the United States has done to me, my parents who loved me dearly that never got to bring me home and clear my father's name and recognize my mother, my sons, the terror and the pain that's been done to them. But to have the British, how many British have died having to fight a war for the United States when the United States has held me hostage, the British hostage, and all people would have to do is they don't care. They're living good, and until they hurt, and this is what an FBI agent told me back in '82. He says, "You know what they do with what you're telling them? It bores them," and he pretended he was yawning. It's only when they find out how it affects them that they care. Well, that's not really caring, but except for themselves again, and that's turned out to be true. Now that I'm looking at this, and I'm not sure it's going, but anyway, I wanted to say that I am allergic to chemicals, especially when they're force-fed, and that's exactly what's happened to me here in Roanoke. They've taken my illness, and it makes, if I'm around some industrial or household chemicals, my immune system attacks itself, and I get terribly sick. It tears down my liver, kidneys, organs in my body. And this has been done systematically since '86. When I took to living in the forest, Jefferson National Forest, on the Appalachian Trail, just to have a place to be. When I finally got enough money, because my jobs were shut down, to get a tent and sleeping bag, actually, people were told, the trail people, volunteers, and the club, the Appalachian Trail Club, actually were told to come up and spray, and they would do it with fuel. At one point, they sprayed my tents to where I couldn't use them. I'd have to throw them away. You couldn't wash it out, and I had no place to wash it out. So at night I would roll in the sleeping bags because it would make me so sick I thought I would die. So this just kept on, and I'm going to say here because I'm probably not going to get much of this up before the 15-minute limit's up or whatever it is. I had a person that was Marshall, um, and I've kept in contact with him over the years. But he actually told, which wouldn't have made any difference. They weren't going to help me anyway. Believe me, nobody was. He actually had told some of the through hikers that, well, they didn't have to worry, that he helped take care of me, that he bought me tents and sleeping bags. That's the most untruth that there is. He never bought me anything except some of those little things you put in your socks when you're freezing to death, or you put in your hands to try to keep them warm. What he did was help and tell them to spray my tents and soak them. And I've had brand new tents, Mountain Hardware, Sierra, North Face, that were brand new and sprayed, and I couldn't even sleep in them. And he took them down, and I don't know what he did with them. I couldn't keep them up there. They were doing me no good. He took them down, and where they went, I don't know. But this was over several years. And then the other one was Terry Sawyer. And I don't know if this gets out because as far as I know he came in and deleted the other three videos. So over the years, he was the one, and he showed me, I thought he was a retired veteran, and that's what he puts in the trail book and all that. And he may be. But he was the one. He also showed me laminated, they're for real, ID cards where he works for the National Park Service out of D.C., and he wrote a uniform division, and he also works for the drug enforcement. Now then, he showed those to me later, like about 3 years ago. When I start thinking about it, I've been isolated. Nobody wants to hear. Everybody around here knows that I had one guy, Neil, that was at Hollins Motel owned by the Patels, and he actually told me, and he was related to the cops there, he actually told me when they had put fuel underneath my window and I couldn't use the air or anything, and this has been done like they sealed the windows, and it was sealed with paint. You couldn't, there's no way, they had to take a chisel. So it's over and over. They've done this to me with chemicals and killed me. He actually told me the last time I was out there, he laughed and said, there's nobody in Botetourt County or anywhere within miles around here that doesn't know what's happened to you and know that you're allergic to chemicals. Let me mind you, I was having to leave because of the chemicals, and he was laughing in my face. And this is how people around here have lived, watching me walk up and down the side of the road, the interstates, beg for food, be on the Appalachian Trail, and they only wanted me out of Virginia. So anyway, Terry, I want to go back, and I know this is not going to go. Everywhere I've gone, I've been soaked with chemicals. And Carl Barton was a retired Virginia State Trooper that took me to one place. I paid the rent. And his wife said, this is how we move you with the chemicals. Now then, Terry Sawyer was responsible for the places that I went, or I wouldn't get anything, where I was soaked with chemicals. And I'm going to name only the three that are Section 8 housing that are federally funded. That's Edinburgh Village, Edinburgh Square, that's elderly, then Richfield, and then Joseph's Dream in next door Bedford. owned by a black reverend out of North Carolina, Washington. You should see what these people have done to me with chemicals.